My female 29 partner, male 28, has a brother, 35, and a sister, 32. His sister has 2 children. Last year, her youngest child, a male toddler, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It has been a huge adjustment, and my sister-in-law and family have had a hard time keeping his condition under control. They were looking at purchasing a pump to help manage his diabetes. A pump would drastically help keep his levels under control and would improve the day-to-day lives of my nephew and his parents. The problem is that the pump is expensive. Most cost between $5,000 and $10,000, and my sister-in-law and her partner do not have access to this amount of money. They had been saving money towards it, but they're still a while off. My partner and I have 2 young children and can't imagine being in their position. For this reason, we offered to pay for the pump. We're not wealthy. We live off my partner's income as an electrician while I stay home with our 2 children, but we budget well and always ensure we have money set aside. My sister-in-law and her partner declined our offer to pay for the pump as they managed to get a pump paid for by their health insurance. Great, win-win, case closed, or so I thought. About a month after we had offered them the money, my partner's brother got engaged. His fiancée has disabilities that prevent her from working. She also has extremely expensive taste. Shortly after the engagement, we all met up for dinner to congratulate them. At one point, they stood up to do a speech to thank everyone for their support, etc., etc. All was normal until they turned to my partner and me and thanked us for helping for their dream wedding. I was confused but didn't say anything at the moment. After the speech, we pulled them aside and asked what they were referring to. They explained that they heard we had offered to pay for the pump, which we're now not doing, so we have a spare $10,000. They reasoned that we were planning on spending it on family, which is the same thing. We were stunned. My partner explained to them that we didn't feel it was the same at all. A diabetes pump helps to keep our nephew alive. A wedding is hardly the same thing. My brother-in-law got mad and accused us of favoring their sister. He said that we were willing to part ways with money before, so he didn't understand why we wouldn't now. I told him we were only going to spend money on the pump. Otherwise, it would stay in our emergency fund. He called us selfish and we left early. After we left, we received texts from other family members taking his side and guilting us into paying for the wedding since his partner wouldn't be able to. I didn't think we did anything wrong, but now these messages have me questioning. Not the idiot. Your brother-in-law and family supporting him are the idiots. You were willing to dip into your family's emergency fund to help save a life. You indicated that the money wasn't easily available. You have it because you worked hard to save it. Your brother-in-law could work extra hours to save up enough money to get the big fancy wedding, or they can change their expectations and have a wedding that they can afford. No one's health will be seriously impacted if you don't provide the money. However, to expect you to fork out that money for an event without asking is unforgivable. Exactly. Key words: save a life. Saving a life and throwing a party are 2 completely different things. The audacity, not even wanna, but you're going to? Even putting OP and her partner on a spot like that. They knew what they were doing, which made their actions evil. It's so appalling to me the balls that some people have. It's incredibly manipulative and scheming to announce it in front of everyone. I couldn't even imagine doing that. They didn't even ask for the money. Brother-in-law knew exactly what he was doing. The announcement before any discussion was designed to manipulate and force OP into giving the money. Brother-in-law tried to pull a fast one by thanking OP and their partner at a public gathering to keep them from refusing. He's mad that they didn't fall for his scheme. As for the rest of the family, people always want to spend your money instead of theirs. OP should just ignore them as inconsequential. My husband, 26, and I, 24 female, recently had our dream wedding themed around Dungeons and Dragons. We're huge fans, and we thought it would be a fun and unique way to celebrate our special day, considering we met via playing the game. We both wore costumes, with my husband dressed as his Eldritch Knight PC, and I dressed as a Sealy Archery. We even encouraged our guests to dress up, and many of them did, which made the day even more magical. Most of our friends and family were supportive, and we had a great time. However, my sister-in-law, my husband's brother's wife, 29, was not so pleased. She attended the wedding but refused to wear a costume, which was fine since it was optional. The problem started during the reception, where she began making snide remarks about our theme. She loudly joked about how childish and ridiculous it was for adults to dress up like characters from a game, and even called it a waste of a wedding. I tried to brush it off initially, not wanting to cause a scene, but her comments continued throughout the night. She even said something directly to me about how I looked like I was going to a Halloween party rather than my own wedding. By the end of the evening, I was really hurt and upset. My husband noticed and confronted her privately, but she brushed it off as just joking. She made fun of the food we chose to serve, the song we picked for our first dance, Merry-Go-Round of Life from Howl's Moving Castle, and even my wedding dress because it wasn't a real wedding dress. She hurt my feelings severely, and when my husband stood up to her, she told him our wedding was a nerdy loser wedding. After the wedding was over, my husband stopped talking to her entirely and has only spoken to his brother ever since. Yesterday, a month after our wedding, we had a dinner party with our immediate families, and I asked my husband if he could refrain from inviting her. He agreed and said she needed to be on a timeout for disrespecting both of us. She found out she missed the dinner and is super angry with me, texting me that I'm an idiot and a witch for not inviting her, but still inviting her husband. I told her that my brother-in-law wasn't disrespectful, and she shouldn't have been surprised that we didn't want her around after she badmouthed our wedding. She told me I was a major idiot and that she was just joking about her preferences. I feel bad for not inviting her, but I don't want to see her after she made our wedding about herself and her preferences. My husband agrees with me, but my brother-in-law has since stopped talking to either of us because we disrespected his wife and that she was just joking and we can't take a joke. Am I the idiot? All right, first the obvious, not the idiot. If I were you, she would wait forever for another invite. Seriously, not in this lifetime. But to go even further, she directly texted you, not her brother-in-law, aka your husband? No, you? As if she had a specific itch with you. And oh, how fast she was to go from, I want to be invited to events you host, to which? Wow, that woman is really classy. It is also very telling that her own husband went with your invite and left her at home. I think deep down he's the one giving her the biggest time out. So, in addition to all else, please keep the icing out. Someone who calls you nerdy losers on your own wedding day does not deserve to ever get an invite ever again. Oh, the same, of course, goes for any family holiday. I wish people would stop trying to cover ugly behavior as a joke. Jokes are funny and not cruel. Her behavior was shameful. If she disagrees with your choices, she should learn to stop talking. Also, I'm jealous. I've never been to a wedding where a costume was allowed, and it sounds like so much fun. The dress I could make for such an occasion. Take a deep breath. Remember, she was only one unimportant person, and the rest of your friends and family had a great time celebrating the two of you. My ex and I are divorcing. My daughter, nearly adult, and I are in the process of moving our stuff into our new place. I got one of those moving pods in front of the old house. My stepdaughter, Teen, started moving her stuff out to it. I told her to stop. At first I thought she was confused and thought it was for her and her mom's stuff. They planned to move back to my ex's home state. My stepdaughter wasn't confused about that though. She thought for some reason that she could move with me and my daughter to our new house in town. So we got into a whole discussion about it. My ex was involved. It turns out her daughter's very upset about having to move because she doesn't want to leave her friends and her school and go to a place that's so backward. After talking, my ex said she understood where she was coming from and asked me to let her live with us, at least during the school year. First, I think it would be weird for her to live with us, since her mom and I aren't married. It makes more sense for her to go live where both her parents are. Logistically, it also presents an issue because our new place is smaller than this one, so she would have to share a bedroom with my daughter. I know my daughter would hate that, so it doesn't seem fair to force that on her. Am I the idiot for not letting my ex-wife's daughter live with us? Edit. We got married about 6 years ago. Not the idiot. Where did she get this idea that somehow she was moving in with you? What kind of parents wait till moving day to discuss this? Like, what the heck? I know we're divorcing, but please take care of my child for me at your own expense and at the cost of your daughter's comfort in her own home. Who put it into the child's head that this was even an option? It sounds like bio mom and dad are okay with pawning their daughter off on ex-stepfamily. This is so weird. I would never be okay with this as a mother. I get the feeling that it was discussed, just not with OP. Dude, she's not your daughter, and she's not entitled to live with you. You have a right to end things with your ex and move on. Having her daughter live with you will just keep her in your life. Just tell her that you're divorced now, and you need closure to move on. It's up to her mom to deal with her issues. It's a complicated issue, but you are the idiot. The person I call my dad was my stepdad. He married my mom when I was 2, and they divorced when I was 16. I have no memory of my life without him until he passed. I lived with him for years after that divorce. In my opinion, when you marry someone with kids, you're also taking on the roles and responsibilities of their parent in one shape or form. If I were her, I would feel very betrayed by this decision. I'm a short guy, around 5'4" to 5'5", in my 30s. My friend Ian is 6'1". I met him sometime back at an event, and although he's really good looking, he works as a waiter at a restaurant. On the other hand, I make quite a lot. Ian has a girlfriend, Julia. We were hanging out with some of his other friends at his place yesterday. I'm a teetotaler and absolutely loathe alcohol, but the others were getting intoxicated and began to make jokes. One of the jokes was about how short I was and that I was still single. Ian said, "Dude, I'm not surprised you're still single. You are really short, and most women would pass on you immediately." The others laughed, including Julia. I was momentarily startled, but then snapped. "At least I don't struggle to make ends meet and work a minimum wage job." I added, "Most women won't consider you marriage material, by the way." Ian got extremely mad and began to argue with me, and so did the others. We had a huge verbal sparring. I asked them to screw off, and in the end left the place. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Although he's good looking, he's a waiter says it all. But beyond that, your insult kind of rings hollow when you're single and he's not. Really bad look, LOL. Yeah, you're both idiots. Him for mocking your height, and you for stating that financial situation makes him unworthy. Also, while I don't condone intoxication, the fact that you stated that you're a teetotaler and absolutely loathe alcohol reeked of superiority. To be honest, I would rather be married to someone who's honest, ethical, and moral. Basically, someone decent that I could trust with my life. I have no interest in someone wealthy and arrogant. It's a real turnoff, and maybe that's why you're single. Honestly, it sounds like you have short guy syndrome. You also could have just said, "Bro, that isn't funny," or something. I don't know how guys talk to each other, but a witty comeback would have served you way better. A simple, "I'm tall where it counts," with a wink would have worked. LOL, but why are you getting so worked up? Have you never had a girlfriend? If so, I can guarantee it's because of your personality, not your height. Our daughter's an infant, almost a toddler. She has cues to tell me what she wants. She isn't saying full words other than mama and dada, but she says syllables of other words and makes certain facial expressions or hand motions that indicate what she wants. It took me a while to even figure it out, but once I got the hang of it and learned with her, it came easily now. I almost always know what she wants. Well, my husband thinks I'm bat crap crazy, basically. He says that our daughter's too young to give cues and that I'm looking too much into it. Therefore, he refuses to actually retain any of the information I give him regarding what our daughter wants. He simply doesn't believe that she's asking for anything specific because she's too young, and he's convinced that she's just making normal baby noises because she's finding her voice. Well, yesterday, I was already stressed out. Our daughter's going through a sleep regression and teething at the same time, where I physically have her 24/7, even while I'm working at my husband's and my business. It made things a bit difficult for me. My husband is never in the shop. He's always out doing delivery and orders for our company, and one of our employees was off for the day. So I spent 12 hours at the shop with a fussy baby, and I was having a hard time soothing her. When we got home, I gave her some Tylenol and her frozen teething ring, and she finally settled. I asked my husband to watch her while I showered real quick. 4 minutes later, he comes in and the baby's screaming, says she's freaking out and just wants mama. Our daughter was looking at me, saying "Nana," and opening and closing her mouth continuously. So I told him she was hungry. She needs to be fed. So he goes out but comes back minutes later and says she won't eat. I asked him what he was trying to feed her, and he said he gave her yogurt bites. I tell him she needs real food. He leaves again. I get out of the shower and go to the living room, and she's screaming "Baba" in her high chair, and my husband just has his head in his hands. He tells me, "I told you she wouldn't eat. So much for you picking up on her cues, huh?" So I say, "She's saying Baba." I always give her water bottle with dinner. I hand her bottle. She immediately starts drinking it and then opens her mouth for a bite of food. He takes this as a moment to tell me, "No, she obviously just wanted you in the room because she calmed down as soon as you walked in here." I told him no, she didn't calm down until I handed her the bottle of water. I told him again that he needed to start listening to her. She's trying to tell him, but he's ignoring it because he thinks babies are too young and dumb to tell you what they want. He gets up and says, "Yep, I forgot I was talking to a baby expert. What else do I need to learn, Dr. Dip Crap?" I snapped. I told him it wasn't my fault he didn't know anything about his kid, and this was the exact reason why I refused to leave the house to do anything alone. He kept telling me to go get a break, but he literally would let our daughter scream instead of attempting to figure out what she wants. He accused me of calling him a bad father, saying, "Yep, no one is as good of a parent as you are." He now isn't speaking to me, and I need to know if I'm wrong here. What else do I need to learn, Dr. Dip Crap? Maybe he needs to learn about divorce proceedings. There you go, OP. You're the baby expert. Deal with this big baby trying to call himself a husband, partner, and father. This man is less mature and direct with his communication than your literal infant. At least the real baby clearly communicates their needs in a healthy way. Your husband feels insecure, and his solution is to tear you down. Instead of having an ounce of empathy or compassion for his wife and child, he's offloading his pain onto you both. This is not an isolated incident, and it wasn't just the fight in the bathroom. He's consistently shown his disdain for you, persistently, over time. Seriously, the contempt this man shows for his wife because she can understand what her baby wants should be a deal breaker for OP. What kind of father is he capable of being when he chooses to let his baby get all hysterical just because he can't possibly let his wife be right? Good Lord, completely nonverbal people manage to convey their needs and wants. She's communicating, and your husband is an idiot. Just how is he so dismissive?